It brings tears to my eyes. But I literally made an appointment with my therapist. And I was just like, the audacity of that professor telling me, like, and I was crying. And she just sat there and she didn't say anything for a long time. And she was like, when are you going to realize that you are enough? Whether you have an A or not. When are you going to realize that you are enough? Like this really has nothing to do with this A. It has to do with you understanding that A, B, C, D, or F, that you will still be worthy, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I get emotional. But I was just like
4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys. Welcome back. It's Tony Perks, your host of Unpack Your Bag Podcast, episode 26. Sorry. Yeah, 26. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Today, I got a very special guest. You know what this episode is about. So today, we're going to discuss a lot of unpacking your bags of a lot of childhood traumas to some degree, because I'm going to talk about some stuff. But I really want to interview my guest today because she has a lot of power behind her. She's in school to be a doctor. You know, and I really want to discuss, like, why did she go into this field and how did you get here? She's also, you know, raised from in the church. So I really want to get a lot of background and everything about her. So, you know, if this is your first time here, this is what we do. We unpack our bag about childhood traumas, you know, the things that we go through and how we deal with it. Because a lot of times in the Black community, we don't have an outlet necessarily. So this is a safe place for us to be able to talk about it as grown men, grown women, and we can actually discuss the traumas and how do we get through them. Because a lot of times we just have a lack of knowledge or awareness about it. So, and furthermore, this is my guest, Stephanie Hazzard. How are you doing today?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm very good.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, you know, a little mess up on this one, but it's cool. You know, we make it through.
So many episodes we don't even know.
I know. I'm like, it's like rolling through.
Awesome.
So, give the listeners a little brief background about you, like who you are, where you came from, and what you're about.
Well, hey, everyone. I'm Stephanie Hazzard. I'm born and raised in New York. I currently live in California with my 3 children, 16, 13, and 9.
Ooh.
Yes, I have teenagers in my house. Woo.
Jesus.
As Anthony said, I am currently I'm getting my doctorate degree in marriage family therapy. I currently have my master's degree in marriage family therapy, and just felt led to just continue on in my educational path. And so that is a journey that we are currently on, but I'm not a doctor yet, but I am working my way there, and I'm excited about that.
Amen. That's so good. So wait, why did you want to become a doctor? Like, what was the reason why you thought you wanted to become a doctor? Was it like a childhood thing, or did you just kind of like grow up and like, hey?
You know what? Like, it definitely was, you know, instilled in my family. Like, you know, I grew up in, my grandmother raised me, and my grandmother was very much about education.
Okay.
And so, my grandmother, you know, she was very, you know, she was from the South, but she was very proper in the sense of like, you're not going to be out there talking crazy. So I need you to represent, you know what I mean? So when you go to school, like you sit in the front, you do not sit in the back. So she kind of instilled all those values on the inside of me. And so I knew from a very young age, based upon the things that I had gone through, that I wanted to do something where I was helping people. And I, you know, at a young age, you don't understand what the Lord is, quote unquote, unpacking, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was just important for me to work in a field that I was able to give back. And so I initially wanted to be a lawyer. Like,
really?
I know. I wanted to be
that's a field.
It is. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to defend children that were abused. And so that was my, you know, stance. And then I went to college and I took law, and I got my first grade back, and I was like, maybe this is not the field I need to be in. It was my first D ever, and I was just like,
oh my gosh,
in the world did I get on this paper?
What?
And so I was like,
that was your first D ever?
Yes, because
really? Oh
yes, because I was like a nerd. I was a nerd. You know, I like school was very important, and
polar opposites. I was a DF student, so it's okay. It's okay.
But I mean, and I'm not saying that that's good, because unfortunately, you know, as we maybe go on, you know, we can talk about it, but that was a perfectionistic aspect of me that felt like, oh my gosh, if I got a D or whatever, that was horrible, right?
End of life.
So, you know, that was horrible. But I knew that I wanted to help children. It wasn't until actually this quarantine, I'm on this house. I got my master's, and that was a journey, you know, I was, have 3 kids, and they're very active in their sports, and I'm literally at the football field and basketball court, with my flashlight studying, studying while they're doing their stuff. And so I got my master's, and I told my kids, like, we got this together, because we would literally sit at the kitchen table and study together.
That's real.
And so
that's a family unit.
It was.
Sure.
So it wasn't until like the first part of the quarantine where I was on a walk with my daughter, and she said to me, she was like, "Mommy, what's higher than a master's degree?" And I was like, "Oh, a doctorate degree." And like, mind you, we minded our own business, and so she just literally looks at me and she was like, "I think you should get that."
Really?
I was like, "What?" And she just like kept on going. She was like, "I think you should get your doctorate degree."
Okay.
And I was like, but it was one of those responses where something leaped on the inside of me that the Lord was speaking through her at that moment. And so I was like quiet the rest of the walk, and she was talking, and I was like, And so when I got back home, I remember just like literally Googling best doctorate program for marriage family therapy.
Okay.
And then the college that a couple of colleges came up, but then the college that I ended up going with popped up, and I was just like, wow. And the process was, it usually takes a long time. Yeah. But I got a call the next day, and the gentleman was like, fill out all these applications, We're in quarantine. This is the beginning of it, so things were shut down. And I was like, oh, man, I need my transcripts. Oh, man, I need this. Luckily, like, I had everything. I didn't realize how organized I was. But luckily, I had everything, right?
Handy,
right? And I had everything, so I was able to send them, like, all my transcripts. I was able to send them the things that they needed, and then I just started this journey. And it's been such a blessing. And the reason I wanted to do it, because I realized that, we're in this movement right now where, we all say Black Lives Matter, and a lot of people are seeking mental health in these times. And I realized that there is, they tell you when you call, like, call the back of your insurance card, and you'll get these amount of therapists. But when you specify it and say, I want Black therapists, the list immensely shrinks.
Really? Oh, wow.
And so there's like a very small portion of it. Although there are a lot of Black therapists out there, they're just not...
compared to the rest of like the actual category of therapists, there's a really small amount?
Exactly.
Wow.
And I said, my daughter asked me a question, and I said, what if my daughter... Like, people need me out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not there. I need to figure out what that's going to look like, because I want to make sure that I'm looking at people and I don't find anyone, but I want someone to be able to search and find what they're looking for.
Understood.
And be able to identify with a Black person in higher education, because I'm usually the only one. Like, I'll get invited to a lot of different things and speak to people about. And I'm usually the only Black person represented, and with these Black Lives Matter, like everyone wants, like, make sure that you have like racial, you talk about this, you talk about that,
racial diversity and stuff in the group,
and then I'm the only one, and I'm like, that can't be okay. I can't be the only person, So I wanted to be a change in that. I wanted to make sure that I did whatever was necessary in order to change that narrative, and not just say like I'm the only.
Yeah, I see. So this just started right before quarantine where you wanted to go into the program? So this is really recent.
This is really recent.
Wow.
I was cool with my master's degree, and I was like, I gotta win. You know what I mean? Because that's big in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Congratulations. And it's an honor, honestly.
Thank you. It is an honor, but I realized that if it's available to me, why not? Yeah. I'm not saying that it's been easy. Like, I started in May. May 8th or May 9th, I don't remember. But, and here we are in October. Yeah. And so, like, don't get me wrong, there's been many days I'm like, I can't do this. This can't happen. I can understand. Because I'm, like, doing Zooms with my kids at home, working from home, all of this. And then on top of that, and it's funny because, like, God calls you to do things when it is not convenient.
Oh, my. That's how you know. That's how you know when it's God. When it's something that's so radical or so crazy or so, like, not at the right time, it's like, this don't even make sense, God. Like, this don't make sense. But then it works out.
And then it works out. And so for me, it was a very clear indication very early on that this journey was not going to be about me. That I had to totally lean into the Lord. Yeah. That it couldn't be about, because if it was my agenda, I would have made sure that it looked a little neater. Right? I would have had all my I's dotted, my T's crossed. I would have planned, you know, my life accordingly. But, you know, it says, you know, very clearly in Jeremiah that he knows the plans that he has for us.
Yes.
And so I just had to say, okay, Lord, I surrender. So when it's hard, I had to remind him, like, you told me to do this.
Yeah. It's like, this is your calling.
This is you. So you're going to have to get me through this.
So how much longer until you're finished and get your degree? Like,
that 3 years. Like
3 years?
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
Okay,
depending.
wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm going to take it one day at a time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, I've said that I want to do it, like, so quickly, but I'm going to take it one day at a time. But the program is a 3-year program, so.
Okay. And have you done any like counseling yet for anybody? Like, have you done counseling so far?
Yeah, I mean, like, my job is to counsel people, and so I enjoy that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is something that I enjoy to do. There's a lot of people that come to me, you know.
What are the kind of like situations that you hear like or encounter with like being a counselor? I'm assuming it's for marriage and family and stuff.
Yeah, marriage and family therapy, but like just, you know, it's the funny thing though. It's like, this is something that I've always done. Like, I've always been that person that people will come to and talk to. And so I didn't realize that this is something that my gifts were making room for me, because it was one of those things where it's like, I always, you know, even in my family, like, people will be like, well, what would Stephanie do? Or what, you know, Stephanie did this, or they kind of look to you for that. And that can be good and bad. Right.
At the time in your life, like, I don't need anybody to ask me. Like,
look at me. Don't look at me right now. I'm not the good example. But when I'm doing good, like, look at me. Which is counterproductive, right? Because sometimes our trials is really what gets us through. So people come to me for all types of things. I mean, you know, marriage issues.
What is a common thing you see like in marriage issues? Like, what is a common thing that you've seen so far that's like, this is usually a factor that I'm going to encounter more likely if I'm a therapist?
Communication, obviously. Like, it's disconnection. People, it's interesting, people falling in love, falling out of love, how we can do that. I'm a witness. I understand what that can look like. But a lot of it, you know, it's the typical like financial issues, sexual issues, not being compatible. There's a lot of issues that I'm dealing right now with blended families.
Like kids from different
different relationships, right?
Okay.
And so like now, how can, you know, I had a young man say to me, how can I want to make my wife a priority, but these children were here before she came around, so how do I do that? You know what I mean? And so
I understand.
It's a lot, and right now there's just a lot of depression going on, a lot of anxiety, a lot of people have been put in a situation during this quarantine to stop. You know, we are very busy. I think one of the things that, especially in Black people, we don't stop long enough to feel.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so people are like used to like, I'm going to go play basketball, or I'm going to go work 10 million jobs, or I'm going to go, you know, do this, that, and the other. And now that we've kind of been in a place of stillness, which I think is good, it's ruffled a lot of feathers for people because they're like, wait a minute, why is this coming up? Like, why am I feeling like this? And so when you're finally able to kind of connect with your feelings, you realize, I don't like these feelings. Yeah,
there's a lot of issues that are maybe going on.
Right? And so they don't even know. So a lot of people are dealing with levels of depression that is really, you know, it really is that. And it's not been tapped into.
Do you think there's depression from the coronavirus, or some of the people you're counting as like they've been depressed for a while and never realized it? Or
I think a combination of both.
Okay.
I think definitely the coronavirus has intensified a lot of people's emotions. We have lost connection with people, which is a very natural thing. And, you know, we get stimulated by being around people. And when people have lost that touch and have lost that connectivity, I think that that brings upon a sense of depression. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
especially depending on your family dynamics. You know, especially if you don't have children, or if you're alone and you're not maybe a social person. Like it affects that.
Yeah, I can understand.
But I also think that there's levels of depression that we all maybe can have, that if we don't deal with it, there's seeds in us that if we don't deal with it, it grows into something. But we can pacify it real good. Like, we can put some fake grass over it.
Yeah, for
sure. We can put a flower there and try to beautify it. But the reality comes down to like,
there's still that gunk underneath it.
There's still some junk that we got to deal with. And so if people are really paying attention and if people are allowing God to really use them in this season, I think that the Lord wants to really prune us from a lot of the junk that we're going through so that when this new season arises, that we will be ready to take upon the challenges and the journey that he has for us.
You know, I want to ask you, have you experienced any challenges from coronavirus? Like, what's been your hardest, like, dealings with coronavirus and being at home, obviously? Have you had any issues like that as well? I gotta ask.
All right, we're gonna go jump in.
Yeah.
So, you know, interestingly enough, during the coronavirus, I'm in the middle of a divorce myself.
Okay.
I was married for 10 years.
Okay.
And it was one of those situations where he's a great guy. I just can't be married anymore. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so that's conflicting, right? When you're a believer, you're like, the Lord is doing this. And then like the real life of this is what I've been dealing with for all these years that I never unpacked, that I never was able to
like see for itself,
to speak about. Yeah. So that's been big. It's been freeing on one hand. So it sounds strange, but it's been very freeing.
It's like you're pulling from both sides. It's like it hurts, but then I'm free.
Yeah, and it's good. Like it needed to happen. We're still good friends, and he's a great guy, and he will always be, that. But this Zooming with my children has been really. It's been challenging. My children I'm realizing that my children are social.
Yeah, okay.
And to be home on a computer all day long has brought out depression even in them and sadness and emotions in them that I'm like...
Like I've never seen this of you. Like you're usually always joyful and light, and fun.
And very active because like all my kids play sports, or my daughter dances and things like that. And so when you kind of shut that down altogether, there's a sense of sadness and mourning. And so I had to deal with different personalities that I'm just like, what? In the world, you were my easy child. Like, what's going on?
Like, wow, are you tripping? Like, this ain't right for you. Maybe the other two, but you, no.
Right. And then my eldest son, like, he could stay in quarantine forever. He's like, whatever, my room. I mean, that's teenagers, you know what I mean? But
wow.
So I'm realizing just a lot of differences in communication. I'm realizing even for myself though, just how busy I was. Like, I was busy all the time and I was doing so many different things that I'm surprised that I didn't have like a breakdown somewhere in there. You know what I mean? Like when you really stop and think, and this is like talk about self-care, like it's so important to make sure that you are utilizing self-care, because I was on the go practice. I would work a whole day and then pick up my kid from school, take him to practice. He had practice for 3-4 hours. Go pick up my daughter from dance, then go pick up the other one, and then go back and forth. Like we were, like my car was like
you was always going everywhere every day. I understand.
And so when that abruptly came to a halt, it was just kind of like, oh,
it's like what the heck?
Actually can breathe. Like, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize like how busy I was. So,
were you uncomfortable, like standing still, like because you've been busy for so long? It's like I have free time.
I was so uncomfortable. And so I felt like I wasn't being productive. I felt like my worth, I questioned my worth. I felt like
wow, that's so interesting.
Like just so many things, because everything I felt was just like I said, like I can talk to people and counsel people about it's funny when the lenses are like reversed, right? Like when you gotta like look in the mirror,
like unpack your own bag. You're like,
unpack your own bag. It's like
it's because I'm the same way like you. Like I naturally gravitate to people, and people have always come to me just like I don't know. I can just talk to people and counsel people. It's just easy. I don't know why or how I do it. I just know what to say or how to like pick out information. And so like for me, it was really hard because I was raised in like an environment that I didn't really have a voice. So like now I'm like unpacking all this stuff in the last like few years. It's been like crazy to like have these different emotions that I didn't realize I had, and anger that I have, and like some depression at times for no reason, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Issues of family. And it's like, it's nuts when you, and like, even now, like even this past like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because like we were in Corona still, but I was working the whole time and I'm still doing ministry and stuff. So I had a surgery 3 weeks ago, and this is the first time I've been off work. I can't go to church. I can't really do anything. So I've been really sitting still finally, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I've learned a lot in these 3 weeks than I have probably in the last 2 years. And I've learned a lot in 2 years about myself. 3 weeks alone, I'm doing absolutely nothing, has shown me a lot about like, okay, I still got a lot of work to do. You know?
And I think it's so beautiful. I think like when, you know, there's a scripture that says, he that has an ear to hear, let them hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. And so there's been times when the Lord has been like, hey, I missed you. Like
you've been so busy.
You've been so busy. Know? Like I'm like, you know, there's also that scripture that talks about like, I prepared a table for you. Like, right. And so like this analogy that I see is like God, you know, setting a table for me every single day, and he's in my house and like made sure that everything was put together, and here I am just like busy, like passing it by every single day, like, what's up, God?
Yeah,
hey,
like
God.
you know, I know you're there, but all right, I gotta do work.
Prepared this, like if you would sit with me and you know, just commune with me, I got instructions for today, like I'm gonna help you through the day. But I was so busy. I would see him because I acknowledge him. And I wanted him to come with me. But it was like, all right, God, get in the back. Are you keep coming with me? You know what I mean?
It's like you're taking God with you, not being led by God to some degree. You know, I can understand.
And so there's just been such a shift just in my mindset, and it's just been so much that I've just been dealing with, and then also because of the silence, sometimes the enemy can also, you know,
I understand,
speak in that, and you're just kind of like.
Those like doubts and negative thoughts and like the feeling bad of yourself.
Like rewinding things in your head. Like, wait, where did that come from? I was never thinking about this.
Like, why is it coming up now? Like, wow.
So it's been an explosion of emotions. The thing about it is emotions are good. The Lord put them in us, right? And I tell people that all the time. Like, clients always tell me, I hate crying. I don't want to cry. I'm like, God gave you tear ducts. That's why you cry. They're there for that reason. But I think that just really understanding the emotions, our emotions, and really understanding like this is hard for everyone, and being okay with saying this is hard. Like this ain't easy. But acknowledging that and then figuring out ways to say like, okay, this is hard, but like, Lord, what are you doing in it? Because it is not impossible. So like the Lord is still in control.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will tell you, like, even in this season, the best things are happening in this season that I honestly don't think would have happened had Corona, COVID-19 not hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, things about myself that I'm realizing that maybe God was like, I had to pause everything in order for you to see this about yourself so that we can work on this, because you would have
never sat still.
You would have sat still, right? You know, you're talking about 3 weeks, like you've been sitting here and like within this time you realizing something about yourself. But imagine like how long that cycle would have taken for you to get these.
I don't think I would have gotten it for years. Like even this issues with me having like, I have issue of like confronting a conflict because how I looked at it was every time I had conflict growing up, it was going to be some kind of like physical fight because I have a disabled brother. He doesn't understand. So I mean, he's aggressive, you know? So it was like, if I address anything at all, it will turn into a fight. If I say, why did you do this? Then it can all easily turn into a quick fight. So doing that from 5 to 23 until I moved out. And even so after that, so I go back and help. It's like that kind of skews you on like, if I have a problem with something, I can just get over it. Like I'm used to getting over it because it's just like, if I just get over it, there's no problem and I don't got to worry about fighting. And so I was like, during this last few weeks, I just figured that out a few weeks ago. I was talking to a good friend of mine and he was like, why are you like hesitant of conflict? You don't have to fight anybody. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, if that's the case, we're going to get down. Like, if I have an argument in my head, it's like, there's a high possibility we're going to get down. And so I don't want to get down. So don't have the conflict. So I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to push it under the... I'll get over it and it's fine. Stuff my feelings. And that's cool. And I'll deal with it like I normally do, which is stuff my feelings and then, blow up later and something else. So I just realized that and I'm like, okay, I just need to realize that conflict is not necessarily an issue. It's just we have a conversation and that's it. I don't have to get there.
And I think that's what people misunderstand. Like effective communication, you're not always going to agree, right? I tell people all the time, like we can agree to disagree. I didn't understand that. Like we say that in marriage, right? You can agree to disagree. Like, no, I need you to. So that doesn't work, right?
I need to be on my page.
But the reality comes down to, I really do believe that this is a season where we are having to learn how to communicate effectively, whether it's about race, whether it's about our feelings, whether it's about politics, whether it's about anything, because the reality comes down to, if God gave us a voice, if my voice is going to be used in any way, so when you kind of ask me a question like, why do you want to become, a doctor? Like, my voice, something, I don't know what yet. Like, there's certain things that I know because the Lord has spoken to me about it. But I know that there's something, I'm an answer to somebody's prayer somewhere, right? And so therefore I need to conduct myself in a manner that represents, so that the integrity that I have is going to launch me to where I need to be, right?
I understand.
If I am not conducting myself in a manner that misrepresents what God is trying to do, then he's going to pause life. He's going to pause. There's a pause, right? And so you're unpacking, you're in episode 26, right? And you don't know where this is going to take you. I mean, I believe that I'm praying that God will take it through the airways. But imagine if you were, known as that person that's like popping off at the mouth. Like, is that the representation that you really want to have? And so I think that what happens, and what I know for a fact, is that the Lord always gets our character together. Before he launches us out there.
I understand.
He gets us together, and sometimes he can get us together in public, and sometimes, which I'm like, Lord, don't do me like that.
I don't do me like that. Nah, I ain't a celebrity yet. Don't be. Come on.
Or he gets us, together in private.
Yeah.
Either one of those scenarios, though, I love it, because I've had both experiences.
Okay.
Where the Lord is like, let me help you out here.
Yeah.
And then other scenarios where I'm like, Lord, I thank you for covering me enough. But it talks about our testimony, and that our testimony in our lives sets us free. And so, you being angry, that's an emotion from something else. Like and so we got to really figure out what is the root of it. Where does it come from? And when we begin to deal with that, and this is the thing, some people just don't have the time to deal with it. Counseling is one of the things that I tell people all the time. It's going to be the hardest thing you ever have done. But it's the most rewarding, but it is hard. And if you ain't ready to pull up your sleeves and get dirty, then you gotta. But who's really ever ready?
Yeah, because like it doesn't. It's like when you give your first word ever. You're never really ready. You don't ever feel ready, and you just kind of like, it's happening. It's here.
That's like that's like saying like, I'm gonna wait until I get my life together before I give my life to the Lord.
It's like that's kind of counterintuitive. Yeah, exactly. It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't really. You're supposed to come as you are. You know, not when you're finished. For sure. Yeah, so that's crazy. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, because you're right. Anger is a secondary emotion stemming from something else, and it's not that I'm angry at times, but it's more of like frustration, because I think I just had been silenced for so long that when someone tries to tell me something now, like when you try to tell me what to do, I'm immediately like, I'm gonna do the exact opposite for sure. Like, and even me and my wife, that happened to my wife. She'll tell me like, oh, I don't think you should do that. And I'm like, I'm going to do it first. In my head, I'm like, okay, you think you're going to tell me what to not do? Okay, for sure. I'm going to
show you what I'm going to do.
I'm going to show you. Like, so we've talked about this. We had this conversation. I'm like, instead of telling me what to do, just ask me. Because honestly, if you ask me, I will probably do it. Whatever you ask me to do, I would do. Yeah. But if you tell me do it or don't do it, I will do the exact opposite. And I'm trying to work on that. And I process it when I'm in it. I'm like, oh, I just need to chill out, but it's tough. It's really hard, because I'm like learning. I have way more issues than I thought. Like, I'm like, other people like, oh, they got issues, but I'm like, I got a bunch of issues. Like, I present well, but I still have a lot of stuff under me that I'm trying to uncover and trying to get through, so
we're so big on looking at that splinter in someone else's eye.
It's so easy. That big
we're like, look at you over there messing up, and we're like, a whole issue is in front of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, it's just deep in there sometimes,
But this is what I love about the Lord, is the fact that He wants all those issues. Like, and one of the things that the Lord is showing me, just even in therapy, like, the Lord, none of these issues that we're dealing with, it does not intimidate the Lord. No, He's not like, oh my gosh, Anthony, that anger, oh my goodness, or whatever anyone on the airways is going through. It's not like I felt for a long time like I used to always say, like, I'm just too much. Like, I've gone through too much in my life. I'm just too much for people to deal with. Yeah. Until the Lord, like, really had to massage my heart and be like, you're enough for me.
Wow.
You're enough. Wow. Like, you're not too much. You're enough. And you're enough for the people that I've called you to be around, and you're going to be enough for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
And
you found that self-worth, like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes, you know, it takes various journeys in order for you to figure out, like, what you're worth. And sometimes it takes tragedies, and sometimes it takes, you know, broken hearts in order for you to realize, I'm actually am worth this. Yeah. But the Lord always tells us what we're worth. Like, you know, but are we going to allow the enemy's whispers to be louder than God's word? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Because he's a punk. Like, the enemy is a punk. He was like, Anthony, you're not this. You know, whatever.
You know, that creepy little whisper, you know, that's doubt and oh my gosh.
And then we, like, it's like a song. Like, I did this experiment with my kids. I was you know, humming a song, and then I would walk into the room, and then I would walk out, and then they were like, then they started singing that very same song that I just finished humming. They're like, where did I hear that from? Like, that's the same thing the enemy does. He'll, like, sit up there and whisper, you're not gonna be anything, you're this, you're that. And then all of a sudden we, like, take it on like
it's ours.
It's ours. Like, I remember my son one time, he said something, and he was just like, I'm just never gonna be good enough. And something in me was like, who told you that? Yeah. Like, and I got so angry. I was like, who told you you're not gonna be anything? Because I've
like,
never
where did this
said
thought
that.
ever come from? Like, you,
and,
who? Yeah.
And he just started crying, and he was just like, I just feel, and I'm like, who told you that? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I went after the enemy that day. I was like, don't you sit up here and whisper things to my kids like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know whoever that was for, like, out there. I just, you know, don't allow the enemy to whisper things to you that the Lord has spoken to you. Like, the Lord's words don't fall to the ground. Like, what God said is solid. Like, I can put my money on it. The enemy, on the other hand, like, he be saying stuff, and we're like, okay, and then we're like, wait a minute, like, you told me this is gonna happen, and then look where, you know what I mean? So
then if he would try to use every circumstance, situation, every person to try to, like, battle what God is saying about you. And he does a good job, because you start actually believing, like, those little whispers over and over, or someone will call you on something like, I'm not really worth it. Dang, I shouldn't have did that. I'm so stupid, or, you know, and those, like, crazy, like, negative self-talk. And it's crazy because the stuff I would say to myself, which I don't really have real bad negative self-talk, but I do on occasions. But the stuff I say to myself, I wouldn't even say to my worst enemies. Yeah. So it's like, it's crazy how much we talk bad about ourselves in our head, you know, more than we can say in anybody else at times, you know. It's
and I
crazy.
think even as believers, like, I think, unfortunately, and this is, I don't know, just kind of a pivot, but I think that sometimes the church doesn't really do a good job of talking to us about the effects of mental health in the church. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, you know, we think that, like, those types of thoughts, like, oh, I'm just gonna pray about that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna pray that away, or come to the altar and let me anoint you with some oil, and then that's gonna be gone. And I absolutely agree that prayer changes everything. I absolutely 100%, being a prayer warrior myself, I believe I've seen God do some amazing things in prayer. But I've also had to understand and learn the practicality of the Lord. And that he is very much like, that I absolutely pray for it, but I'm also going to need you. Faith without works is dead. If I'm sitting up here with a migraine headache and I'm like, Lord, I need to just pray this away, and the Lord has provided me with Excedrin migraine.
It's like,
and I'm sitting here like,
I'm just going to pray. I'm just going to pray.
I know you provided me with this Excedrin migraine, but I don't need this, you know. And we suffer longer than we need to, right? And so, with that analogy, I think that sometimes we suffer longer than we have to.
Like walking 40 years compared to 11 days.
Come on.
Yeah, like I get it, and I think you're absolutely right with that, because, like, a lot of times we'll get, like, a prayer, or we'll get prayed for, you know, and we'll get released for a minute, for a moment, you know, but then what do you do when the fight comes back? And I think we don't get a lot of times people aren't taught, like, this is not a one time it's over. It's like, it's a continual battle that you're going to have to fight day in and day out. And you need practical steps on what to do when you're praying, and then when you're fighting and you pray, but you're still getting fought harder. Like, you got to do other things too, you know? It's like, you got to actually do stuff. You need steps with it. So I think I agree with you. Like, we get a word, we get a prayer, but then sometimes you don't get the implementation on what to do after that, you know, and how do you keep that going to keep God in your ear all the time? Like maybe, you know, we don't.
And that's
hear
why you
that
gotta
part.
surround yourself with people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
Because it's really bad being in a situation. Like I literally was having this conversation with someone the other day. I don't know how people are making it through this pandemic without the Lord. Like I don't know how people are doing it.
It's
like
crazy.
I don't understand. Like there are certain things I'm just like, that peace that passes all understanding that has come over me in certain situations, like where I know I could have absolutely lost my mind, or like when jobs are being laid off, or when like literally like I can lose my mind if I did not have the Lord. Like I just don't know how people have been doing it. And so, you know, the rise of suicide rate has, you know, October is mental health month. Like there's so many things that are happening in this month that I'm just realizing. You know, I get like different therapeutic magazines, and the amount of domestic violence has increased.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah,
it's just but how people are doing it without the Lord, I don't know. You need people around you that are going to remind you of God's word in your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when someone, you know, whispers something, there can be a counteractiveness of, nope, that's not what we're doing today.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me send you this song. You're not listening to this song today. You're not gonna rewind that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the enemy's saying, like we're not gonna rewind that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be on your playlist. We're going to delete that. We're not even going to pause it. We're going to delete it.
Yeah.
And so when you have people in your life that can operate in authority and allow you to not stay in your rut, that's important.
Yeah, I think you need that. You need like accountable people and partners around you. And like I think a lot of times like a good friendship is someone who will hold you accountable and intervene if necessary. You know, because I don't think a lot of times, at least for me, I have really close friends, like maybe 2 or 3 that are like my solids, you know, but outside of that, I don't have that many friends.
Yeah.
Like I have, you know, people who are like friends and acquaintance, you know, but I don't have a lot of people. But the people I do have, they'll call me out on my BS. Like they'll call it and I'm like, dang.
Yeah, you need
like,
that.
Really? Like, oh, that hurts. Like, and I'm mad, but I'm like, I understand though, you know, I respect the game
those
now.
close. Keep those close.
I know, it's hard to find that, you know. It's really hard to find good, accountable friends who will hold you to your word.
Yep.
And when you say something and then they'll call you out, they'll really like tell you like, hey, you're messing up right now.
Yeah.
Like maybe you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, and then people that, you know, I call them my Fab Five. I mean, it's not all 5, but like I have 5. If I can count on one hand the people that I can consider myself close with, and you shouldn't have like a whole bunch of people in that inner circle, right?
Yeah.
But these are people that you can be transparent with. These are people that are you gonna, you know, you share your dreams and visions with, and then when you deteriorate from that, or when you fall from that, they have to call you out on it and be like, wait a minute, like this is what God said in your life. Did you not remember? Like, I'll give you a premise. Like yesterday, like this is today.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Super recent. Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, I think I can't do this doctor's program. I'm done. I'm exhausted. Like I can't do this, and I called one of my accountability partners, and she was just like, wait a minute. Remember what we said in May? Like, quitting is not an option. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I was just like, but, you know, I'm
it's
just
too
so
hard
excited.
In this.
I don't understand. Like, I maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I missed the Lord. She was like, are you kidding me? She was like, let's pray. And so she literally just like was like, no, we're gonna pray about this. And then she was like, and then I was like, you know what? Forget it. I don't quit. So like so then about me just like began to rise up like, oh, I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like something rose up in me because she was not allowing me to back down. Yeah. And she stirred up something on the inside of me that was just like,
it was already there. It just needed to be cultivated out. Like, come on. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So there's really a battle for you. It's really a battle, huh?
And I think I'm making it more of a battle within myself. I allow, you know, that's on my mind playing trick because I mean, like, as intellectual as I can be on so many levels, there is a part of me like I have insecurities myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, not ever feeling like I can measure up. Like maybe, you know, like.
That's crazy because like you've accomplished quite a bit. You know accomplished a good amount of stuff. Like a lot of people, like we don't have that many black therapists, you know, already. So it's like you made a good accomplishment, but it's crazy to think that thought is in your head.
So you see, like, I mean, just that very practical observation of you've accomplished so much. Like you've done so many things, and if I can name the things that God has done in my life, I'm ashamed to think that I haven't accomplished things, right? Like I can't really say that. And I'm not saying it accomplishing in a sense of like prideful, but like, man, Lord, like you really like brought me through some amazing things in my life. And so when I look back over my life and I begin to think things over, I can truly see like how God's been a blessing. But I struggle. I still struggle sometimes with just feeling like I'm enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and that stems from childhood. That stems from my own traumas in childhood. That stems from, areas in my life where, and I guess I have to kind of preface it a little bit, because if I step back a little bit, when you ask me, like, maybe I should have answered the question a little bit more honestly in the beginning. When you asked me, like, where did I always want to be a doctor? Like I said, my grandmother instilled education was very important to me. But education then became my God. Let me explain that.
Okay.
And so let me explain that. So it was like I was seen when I did well in school.
Right.
I was acknowledged. My mom, I love my mother. But my mom, like when I was younger, she just was not there. Like I said, my grandmother raised me. And anytime that my mom would validate me, at the time was when I did well in school.
Okay, I see.
And so when I did well in school, it was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And so then she would tell her friends, like, I'm just so proud of my daughter. She wouldn't necessarily tell me, but she would tell like all her other friends, like,
Okay, I understand.
Even so, like when I graduated from college, it was just like, look what I did. Now, mind you, my mom did not help me through college at all. Like, it was none of that. But it was one of those things where I just had to, I use academics as well. If I do well, then this is evidence of my worth. So I accomplished my master's degree, so I am now worth.
Got you. So it's like a badge of validation to some degree.
It was a badge of validation until the Lord just really had to say, like, a funny story is like when I was in my master's program. So embarrassing, but whatever. I was in my master's program and I got an A- on an assignment.
I would be so proud. I would have been so proud of myself.
Right? What I'm about to say is like, y'all out there don't judge me, but I'm just about to tell you, like, so I got an A- on this assignment. And at that time, I don't know what was going on with me, but I was like, man, that minus like stood out more than the A, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, I got an A-. So I made an appointment with my advisor, and I was like, Dr. Venture, I need to talk to you about this A-, right? So he was from South Africa, this white guy with this awesome, Tom Selleck beard, and he was like, come to my office. So I was like, he's like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm here to talk to you about this A- that I received. And he looked at me.
You went to battle the A-.
I said, don't judge me, right? So he's crossing his legs and he folded his arms and he was just like, Miss Hazzard, I need you to do 2 things for me. And I was like,
okay.
And I had my notes ready. I was like, yep, what is it? He was like, I need you to schedule an appointment with your therapist. And he was like, because the fact that you are coming to my office about an A-, when, by the way, I don't give out A's because this is a hard class. Yeah. And the fact that you earned an A-, this is bigger than this A-. Wow. The fact that you are in a master's program and this A- is causing this much pressure and this much anxiety over you. Wow. I need you to go see your therapist.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there like, how dare
like, excuse you?
Like,
you gonna tell me there?
What? Yeah. But low key, like, it brings tears to my eyes. But I literally made an appointment with my therapist. And I was just like, the audacity of that professor telling me, like, and I was crying. And she just sat there and she didn't say anything for a long time. And she was like, when are you going to realize that you are enough? Whether you have an A or not. When are you going to realize that you are enough? Like this really has nothing to do with this A. It has to do with you understanding that A, B, C, D, or F, that you will still be worthy, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I get emotional. But I was just like, So it was in my master's program that I really kind of had a better understanding of the hold that perfectionism and trying to be something that you're not. Like, what if you were just authentically yourself?
Yeah. Like the good, the bad, the ugly.
What if you were just a C student? Like, what if that was who you are? Like, who's telling you that you're not enough, right? And so then when I look at my kids, right, and I'm like wanting them to be like the best version of themselves, right? I have to like remind myself, like, man, God, like, you don't call us to be perfect. You call us to walk in excellence. Yeah. Because we want to represent who God is. But he never said to us, come to me only if you are perfect. Yeah. If that was the case, that thief on the cross right next to the Lord would not have made it into heaven that day. And so I thank God for showing us moments where we don't have to have it all together. Wow. For us to be enough.
You know, it's interesting because I know there's a lot of people that probably feel how you feel about grades and stuff. Yeah. And even though, unfortunately, like, it was instilled in you at such a young age that, you know, the validation comes from, like, you know, you do good in school and your mom will see you, you know, and then people will know. And so, like, that will hit with you hard, you know, at such a young age. So it's understandable that you would feel that way. Yeah. You know, you definitely identified, like, okay, like, this happened in childhood, and like, now, like, this is why this is happening. Like, this is why school is so important. And it's crazy because I'm on the flip side. Like, I think a part of me underperformed intentionally because I just didn't want to, I guess, admit, like, maybe I could do it, but I'm like, I know I could do it, but I don't need to. Who cares, you know? And I kind of undervalued myself and not even performed to kind of like put it down, you know? So it's crazy to, like, because we're on total opposite. Yeah. I was like, DNF, don't care about homework, don't care about school. I'll go to school. And it's crazy because as a DNF student, I went to nursing school and passed first time. Yeah. So it's interesting, like, when you try, but I never saw myself as smart. So I, instead of like, I don't think I'm smart anyways, why try? Why prove it correct? Just don't play the system.
Yeah, and that's a lot of those lies that come into us come to us at a very young age. That's why it is so important to speak life into your children. Yeah, you know, I tell couples and I, you know, my specialty actually, I love working with teens and young adults. Like, I love that. I really, really do, because I think,
bless your soul. Oh my God.
I know people run away from those teens, but like, it's funny. It's funny because, like, all the jobs that I've had,
bless your soul.
They would give me like the hard ones, and I'm like, yes, give them to me. And then, like, they'll end up being like how you're saying about yourself. Yeah. Like, they want to, you know, be bad behind, act up, and then you're just like, get yourself over here. You know what I'm saying? They just need to be seen. And that, you know, and so I think that is where one of the giftings that the Lord has put on the inside of me is to be able to see things in people that other people don't see. Yeah. The flip side of that coin, though, is that it's so easy to see things in other people. You're like, oh man, bro, you are amazing. I can't believe, like, you got this podcast going on. And you have me on here as a guest. I'm so excited. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I'm like, people are like, you should do a live video. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I'll do, you know, whatever it is that we talk ourselves out of certain things. You know, and so it's just crazy.
I understand with the live thing. That's really interesting because I just had that same conversation with myself, because someone was like, you should do a live video. And I'm like, I don't know. And it was some kind of insecurity in me. It was like, I don't know, like, live, like, I'm on the spot, you know? But I realized, like, I don't edit any of the podcasts. Like, everything that's on here is going to be on here. Like, I don't take anything out for the reason of transparency for Unpacking Your Bag. Like, I don't want to, you know, diminish the integrity of the podcast by removing something.
Those tears, you don't need to edit those.
I try to keep it as authentic as possible, which is like the same thing as doing live, because I don't take anything out anyway. So I thought about it, I was like, why am I tripping on doing live? Like, what am I insecure about? That it's the same thing as doing the podcast. It's the same thing. Like, I don't take it out. Like, everything you see here will be here. Like, I don't edit people. Like, the only thing I say is don't choose anybody's names, you know, because of that. That's the only thing I would probably edit out. I would just put a blank or something. But everything is authentic. So like, when you're saying the live, I'm like, I had that same insecurity, but it had no basis. It was just tripping, I guess. You know?
And if we were to think about it, like, any of the insecurities that we have, like, why can't you do that? Because I feel like the Lord asks us that question, like, if I tell you that you can do all things through me, there's nothing that you are not able to do.
then why are you having
this dialogue?
Yeah, it's like because like, and that's crazy because like I have those thoughts, but I also am like really, I have a lot of faith in God. Like I don't have anxiety really or anything, or because I just like, it's all gonna work out, it's fine, you know. But then sometimes I have these insecurity thoughts that's like, why am I, it's like in this area I have faith highly. Like if you tell me like Corona hit, I'm like, we good, I'm not, look, it doesn't matter, like I'm cool, I'm not gonna freak out, I'm totally fine. But then these little insecurities come up and I'm like not fine. And it's like, it's crazy that I'm extremely faithful in some areas. Yeah. Like me and my wife, for example, like my faith in some areas she has anxiety in, and then the things I have anxiety or like imbalance and she doesn't have any, like she has faith, and I'm like, it's so crazy how we're so opposite, but it makes it work. I don't know, it's interesting because like my faith is really strong, but then I still have doubts, you know, about stuff. So it's like it's just interesting, you know.
And I love that. I think that and this is what I love about the Lord, though. This is what I love about the Lord, that he is not, it does not bother him that we have insecurities and we still trust him. Right? It's like, I think that, you know, sometimes that might sound like an oxymoron, but I think that what happens is like the church, you know, teaches us like have faith for everything, which I love it. Don't doubt anything. But so what's going to happen when I do have doubt? Can you talk to me from that real place? Because me and the Lord in my conversations with him, yes, Lord, I absolutely know about faith. I want to be a woman of faith. But let me ask you about those times when I don't have faith. Can we talk about that? If I can come to you about anything, can I come to you about those times that I'm slipping? Can I come to you about those times when I don't understand? Can I come to you those times that mentally I am not stable? Can I come to you in those times? And these are the conversations that I challenge, you know, ministers and people in the church to talk about. People like we said earlier, we don't want to talk about mental health. Mental health is real. And I don't think enough pastors are equipped enough to deal with a lot of the mental health that comes in the church. We are quick to say, oh, let me pray it away, let me pay it away, let me do whatever. And sometimes the Lord just needs someone to help literally what you're doing. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, because I think that's necessary. Like it's one thing to, like it says, one thing to get prayed for, and then the issue's over for a moment. But then like what happens when those reoccurring urges happen when no one's around and it's just you? Like how do you battle it then? Because we know how to battle it when we're at church. But then what do you do when you're not at church? Like, you know, so it's very important. And mental health, it's crazy that there's so much big stigma on mental health before all this, because it was like, you know, you don't want to say you're depressed or sick or have a mental issue. But it's like when you have a cold, you go to the doctor, you know. When your leg is broke, you go to the doctor. Like I just had a mental crisis. I need to go to the doctor. But people, and maybe it's more in the Black community. It's like I don't hear a lot about therapists in the Black community. It's like people will smoke or drink or do something and take their mind off it. You know, so
it's a stigma, because I think that and it stems back to like slavery, unfortunately, right? When people were just taught to just kind of like take the abuse and be quiet about it and continue working on. And then then that's translated to what happens in my house stays in my house, right? We have like these little statements that we make in our Black families, right? And then we have that don't be misrepresenting our family when you go out there, whatever it is, right?
I understand.
As opposed to, and who helped me understand that a little bit more is my middle son. My middle son is he has ADHD, right? And here I am, a therapist. Here I am, a Christian. Here I am. And for those of you that don't know what ADHD is, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, right? And so my son is he's very impulsive and very super smart, but like
he'll go one thing to the next real quick, right?
Really quick and unable to like focus. Although I can't say that he's unable to focus, because he's actually hyper focused on various things at the same time, which is a skill that I just don't understand, but he can do it, right? And so I've tried to flip it for him, and so he wrote a paper in class one time that says ADHD is my superpower, right? And basically it was so cool.
Oh my, I love your son. That's so dope.
It was so dope, and like he won an award for it at his school. But the reason I bring that up is because I came from a very proper family. You know what I mean? Like my dad,
like that.
My dad was a minister, and like my grandmother was one of those, like if she was singing in the choir, and I caught myself acting up, she would look at me from the choir stand and be like, and I would have to like get myself together. So we kind of were always, kids at that time were always taught to be seen and not heard, right? My son is opposite of that. My son, everyone knows him, and he is very loud and very vocal, and I love that about him, right? There's parts of the Lord, however, had to check me. It's funny when the Lord check you. What about your kids, right?
Ooh, here we go. Transparency. Ooh, that's good.
So I was like, I remember I was somewhere, and low key, I'm just gonna be as 100% parent. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that my son was being loud and outgoing and talking to everyone and all over the place. And the Lord checked me. He was like, why are you embarrassed about something that I created?
Ooh.
And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, but Lord, you see him out there, like he doing this.
Like you see what he's doing, like.
And the thing about then the Lord took it to the next step. He was like, he's comfortable with who he is.
Yeah.
Why aren't you comfortable with who he is?
Ooh, double whammy. Ooh.
I was like, well, see, what had happened was, so my son is comfortable in his skin.
Yeah.
That is our goal, right? We're talking about, we want to make sure that we are healthy. We want to make sure that we are whole. My son is all of those things.
Yeah.
Is it a lot to deal with at times? Yes, it is.
Understandably, yeah.
But when the Lord put it in that perspective for me, I could no longer be like, I'm embarrassed that you sitting up here acting a mess. I now had to figure out ways in which that he can absolutely be himself, be around people that accepted him for who he was, and then continue to train him. Like, okay, David, like, this is how you made someone feel when you were acting like this. Like,
yeah, bring awareness to it. Yeah,
bring awareness to it, and then so he was just like, oh, okay. All right, like I'm gonna get it together. But it wasn't like, get over here and stop talking. I can't believe, sit over here and be quiet. That's not who he's created to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if I'm sitting up here trying to put him in a box, and I'm saying, this looks pretty, this feels comfortable to me, then therefore I need you to stay because don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that's what Black families do. Like and maybe not even just Black families, but just families in general, possibly, or people, humans. If it doesn't feel right to us, if we don't have a title for it, if it doesn't make sense in our mind, then therefore we equate it as being bad.
Yeah, I see.
We don't, because it's just because we don't have understanding.
And that's a really good point. Because like when you don't understand something and it's like it could potentially oppose your view, you think it's bad, and it's like before we judge it as bad, let's see what it is and understand it.
Let's unpack it. This is a prophetic podcast because I think it's so many things to unpack in our lives, and if we're open to doing that, we can really begin to get to the root of a lot of issues. And I think that the enemy's job is to kind of make sure that we pack it all up. Like, just sit over here in this corner, like I told my son, like, and it's not until we unpack things in our life are we able to actually see, like, man, there was actually a gem in there. Man, there was actually like a nugget that I needed. Like, this was actually something, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think that, this is a season where we cannot allow people to not allow us to be this generation. This generation is interesting because
it really is. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a whole different generation. I just had a birthday last week, but so being 45, right, and seeing like the old school mentality and working with these new millenniums, I love the drive that you guys have. I love, like, you guys are like, we're gonna represent, we're gonna do this. What I don't like, however, though, is that the moment that someone brings correction or brings awareness to a different way of doing it, then there's pushback. And so I think that we have to figure out how we can unpack things in our life without it being like, well, what you're saying is wrong, and this is just my life experience, and so you can't judge me for that. I think there's a balance of it all. Like, we're gonna have to unpack. Like my son, yes, I understand that this is your diagnosis, and I was never the mom that was quick to diagnose, but yes, I understand that this is your diagnosis, but within that, I'm going to give you the tools necessary in order to function with what you have been given. Mm-hmm. And then I think that this generation just is not. Sometimes it's not. They're just like, whatever, I'm right, you're wrong. You don't understand me. Let me do YOLO, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and they live in this very sporadic and very quick thinking that they don't take the time necessary to unpack, and get some of the tools necessary in order for them to be who they're called to be.
And it's interesting because you're talking about your son having ADHD. So when I was a kid, I wasn't technically diagnosed. They thought I had ADHD when I think I was in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. But I was never aware of this until I was 26. Mm. So I just found out like a few years ago, like I don't even know if I have it for sure or not. But every time I think about stuff and how I am, I'm like, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about like the hyper focus and stuff. I realized like it's really hard for me to like focus on stuff unless I really want to do it. Is the only time I can really focus on it. Outside of that, like that's why it's hard to do schoolwork. Yeah. It's hard to do anything that I don't have any desire to do. I probably won't do it. Yeah. Like I clean and I take out the trash because I have to. When it's like it's filled, I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Like literally, it's really hard for me to focus in general. But it's something I really want to do. I'll focus hours in, no problem. Yeah. And it's so interesting because when you're talking about your son, it just reminds me of me. Like it's just like. People think I'm like loud and crazy and like going here and there, and it's like it feels normal to me. Mm-hmm. But then it's like it's hard when people are trying to put you in a box. It's like we don't want to be put in a box, but there's our lanes where you kind of still need to stay to govern through life. Like it's boundaries we don't need to cross necessarily. Like sometimes you got to sit here and do this work, or you don't get your lights on. So
I tell him all the time. I'm like, I know you don't like math right now, and so when I was a teacher for a long time, and so one of the things I would tell my kids is like, Can't was not a word that we use in my classroom, and so. It was, I don't know how, I need help, right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the things, if we're going to begin to unpack things in our life, we need to be able to admit, I was never taught that. Yeah. I don't know, I haven't had a good model. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about like, why do you want to be a doctor? I want to be a good model to someone to be able to say like, you can be a great mental health professional, have issues that you're still working through and still be excellent. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be that model. I want to be able to tell you that, yes, you can do anything in life that you put your mind to do, that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Now, me as a single mom of 3 still doing it and knowing that my children are looking at me as this example. My kids will now no longer they can't say like, well, no one in my family ever, went to school or graduated or did. I'm changing that narrative. Yeah, wow. And so that is what I think it really, when we unpack our bags, then we give the next generation an opportunity to see the truth. Yeah, and the transparency is so needed because it's like, if you look at even social media, everyone paints himself in this glitz or it's like the highlight reel of you, essentially. For sure. So when people are looking at you, they're seeing the highlights, thinking the highlights are your everyday or normal time. Yeah. They don't see the fact that even though you're going on trips to Greece and you flying in private jets, but you're depressed in the back wanting to kill yourself. Like what you just went through to get there. Yeah, it's like, they don't see that side of like, oh, I'm like, my family's in shambles right now. Like both my parents just passed away. Like, like all this stuff, like, people don't understand, like, and then that's why like being transparent is so important. And I learned that actually from 8 Mile. Have you seen the movie 8 Mile? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that movie taught me a huge gem that I take to this day. So the reason why I'm transparent so much, because in the movie, Eminem's about to battle the guy, and he goes first. And right before that happened, his friend Cheddar Bob was talking to him. He was like, he's gonna talk about how he got with your girl and shot, and I shot myself, blah, blah, blah. So Eminem goes up there and he tells everybody what he was going to say about him, and then also disses him. And so then the guy has nothing to say. And what it taught me was like, if you're transparent with your flaws and your good and your flaws, who can really, what are they going to do? Like, it's already out. Like, I've been put it out there. Like, I have been had this problem. I put it out a long time ago. So you trying to use it now? I mean, it's been known. Like, it's not. That's the thing about it. This is the nugget right here. Whatever is done, what does it say in the Bible? Whatever is done in the dark is going to come to the light, right? Yes. There's something magnificent about the light, because it exposes, it gives us a clear view of what is going on, right? the enemy's job is to keep us in the dark, right? Like he wants to keep us in the dark, whether it's about religion, whether it's about sexuality, whatever it is about, he wants to keep us in the dark. The moment that light comes on, then we're like, oh, man, I see, right? I love that because I tell my friends all the time, and they're like, there's no way that would happen. I don't know. I might have to, after this, I might need to figure, because I'm the type of person like, what if I just put everything, like, you know, now I'm single, right? Like trying to figure out like what life is going to look like and and you know, what that looks like. And what if I just put everything out there on the table and I'm like, this is all the crap that I am about. It's all my flaws. Yeah. This is all the stuff that I deal with. These are all my insecurities. Would you still be able to stick around?
I see.
And people tell me all the time, like, well, that's a lot. Like, people, maybe you want, then you're not my person then.
Exactly, because what's the point of waiting 6, 9 months, 3 years, and then putting the problems with them? It's like, I can't deal with this. I wasted 3 years. And I was like, let's just be here. Look, you can handle it or not. You can? Great, let's move forward.
I'm like, what's the opposite of Facebook then? Like, what's the opposite? What would it look like if we literally put our truth on it? I remember one of my most realest posts that I ever put on Facebook to this day. It was a really, really deep post, and it got 700 and something likes at the time, right? Okay. It was powerful, and it was like me, like really just being open about an experience that I had gone through, and everyone, and I have a lot of friends on Facebook, but there was like people were like that. Oh my gosh! Like when you shared that, it saved me. It encouraged me. And I didn't realize, and it was a very dark place for me. Yeah. Wow. And understanding, like, dang, I almost allowed the enemy to like put a cap on that story.
I see. Yeah.
And now it's then set off. Like people were like in tears. Like, wow. So see, yeah. So I encourage people. I can't be friends with people that I can't be real with. Yeah. Now, wisdom says, like, this is the 45-year-old in me that comes out. Wisdom says not everyone is worthy of your story, right? And what I mean by that is, I'm not gonna sit up there and maybe share my life story with someone that is just not in the same mindset as I am. That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a racist that doesn't have that. Yeah, they'll never understand. They won't understand it. It's like now I'm wasting my time because where you're at in your life right now is not conducive. But that's not going to stop me from sharing my story. You may not like it, but that's not going to stop me from sharing my story. So I think that we have to be brave enough to share our story, because the Bible is very true when it says people are set free by our testimony.
It's so true, but it is so hard. And I when you're telling me that, I understand, because like there's still a couple things I've yet to talk about that I'm like, I know it's gonna happen eventually, but it's like there's still parts I'm like, oh, not yet. Oh, like, you know, but I totally get what you mean. Like I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, but there's things I'm also not ready to share. That's like I need more time to maybe get the confidence or maybe get through it, and then I can share it, you know, this part of it. But I totally understand, because it's hard to reveal yourself to everybody. Yeah. It's hard to reveal yourself to be judged, essentially. It's like you put yourself out there and you're at the mercy of anybody's opinion.
And that's the thing, though, you know? Like we have to get to a place in our life where we understand, like, everyone maybe won't be affected by it, but what if you've changed that one person's trajectory? Yeah. Like, I think about Jesus. I think about if he only came to save that thief on the cross. Like I've been really thinking about that thief on the cross for so much lately, because there were two people right on either side of Jesus when he was dying. One person that was like, I did this. Like, the thing. The person that said, like, I believe that who you are, and he was like, today you're going to enter an eternity with me. He was guilty. Yeah, for sure. He did what he deserved, for whatever reason. He deserved to be on that cross. Yeah. Because whatever his offense was, he did it. Yeah. And here we have Jesus that didn't do anything. He lived a sinless life and was willing to get up on there from my rusty crusty behind and say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And loved me. Like, that brings tears to my eyes even again, because I'm just like, what testimony is not worthy of me saying, even if one person gets this, because I know that anything that I go through in my life, God has allowed it, and all things gonna work together for good. Like, it's gonna be good. Yeah. It didn't feel good. It have looked messy. Like, I'm in the process of, we have to have more time, because you know, there's you know, the Lord will be, I remember like growing up as a minister's kid, and you thinking like, I'm a good kid. Like, I don't do anything. And then when life hits you, and then you're just like, oh shoot, the very thing that I was like, so for me, I'll just be very transparent real quick. The very thing that I thought for the longest time, because I was a virgin for a very long time, you know, I didn't lose my virginity until I was much older, and I remember just being like, I'm saved, I'm a virgin. And then when I ended up having 2 kids out of wedlock, 2, not one, not one.
Okay, 2. Okay.
I remember thinking that was like my biggest sin. Like, oh my gosh, I would never have a kid out of wedlock, and here I have 2 of them, right? And how the Lord loved me through that. Yeah. And how people, like, I'll never forget, I was doing a conference, and I was speaking, and this lady came up to me, and she was like, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. She was like, because people talk about, you know, she's like, I'm sorry for the people that gave you a hard time for keeping your baby. She was like, what we should be talking about is how many Christians have gotten abortions and just kind of hit it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just got kind of like, you had to live out your consequence in front of people, right?
For sure, yeah.
But I think about that, and I'm just like, Lord, like, you are amazing. Powerful enough. Like, you could have stopped that sperm from coming if you really wanted to, like, because you're powerful enough to do that. But
it was meant, you know,
it was meant to be, and so,
you know, and it's crazy that the judgments too is because, like, I can understand that when what helps me with those thoughts and stuff is I think about Paul. Did Paul turn to Saul? Saul turned to Paul? Okay. So he was murdering Christians. I mean, you can't really get worse than that. I'm sorry. Like, murdering people.
Like, you believe in God.
Like chop off head, everything. And if he can turn around.
Name change.
If he can turn around.
Come on, bro.
If he can turn around. Like, God turned him around.
Like, fully.
And love, you know, so if
and
that. And
use the latter part of his life to convert more Christians.
Yeah.
Like, more non-believers into Christians than anyone else. Like, come on, dude.
So if he can love him after murdering his own people. Like, murdering his own people.
Or Peter after denying him. Like, you were my boy.
Yeah.
Like,
you seen the miracles, bro. What you mean? What, you really?
Tell me you don't know
like,
me?
Well, you seen miracles, and then you going to really, like, you know what I mean? So it's like if God can work through all of that, then my stuff is not that bad. It's not that bad, and everything that I'll probably ever experience or go through or have a thought about is already in the story of the Bible somewhere.
So why aren't you sharing? So why aren't you sharing your testimony?
Hello?
Did they run the microphone?
Well, no. I'm just kidding. But no, I've shared it a couple times. I actually shared it in a church message before. Nice. I'll share it again. Not right now, but I'll do it.
I'm not saying it now.
But I will. But it's
just reminding us, like, our stories have value. Yeah. Every single one of our stories has value. Every single part of what God created us to be, He is going to use all of it. I told the Lord, my prayer is, I want to die empty. I don't want to have anything in me. When I die, I don't want any part of what you've given me to come with me. I want to give all of myself to you. I want to be empty.
Wow. And you know what's crazy? And we're not alone. All this stuff that we've been through, someone else is going through something either very similar, exactly the same, or around the vein of it, you know?
I can guarantee you that.
That's why I'm like, I was like, all these problems, even the stuff I'm like, it's like someone out there is in the same boat.
I can guarantee you
that.
So, and or is alone. About to go through it, and you can be the catalyst to save them from having to go through it.
Yeah, you know, so. And that's why it's so important to share our stories and share our testimonies and stuff. I do want to talk to you because we're running out of time, but I want to talk to you about something really quick. I know you briefly told me you had a near-death experience when you were younger, so I want to hit on that and kind of talk about what that experience was like. What did you see or feel or hear, and what kind of happened?
Ooh, yeah.
That's a big one.
No, it is. So talk about when the enemy wants to take you out of your purpose at a very young age. So my mom is in the entertainment business. My mom is a singer, and Andre Crouch was my godfather, and he's a famous gospel singer that has passed on. Rest in peace. But my mom, they were working on his album. I was around 2 years old. And he lived in California, but he had a big house and he had a backyard and had a pool. And so I don't know what was going on. Like I got out of the house, and I had a babysitter or the housekeeper or whatever was there, but I don't know what she was doing at the time. But I ended up falling in the pool.
Okay. At 2 years old?
At 2 years old, I literally drowned in the pool, and I remember this as if it was yesterday. So I'm fell in the water, and he has a German Shepherd dog named Sebastian. We'll never forget that dog. Dog is running around the pool, barking, but no one they're rehearsing. So like they're in the studio, like doing all this stuff, and I'm literally like I'm drowning, and this angel. And when I tell you, like, it gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it. But this angel came to me as I'm drowning, and with the kindest, most captivating eyes, like, looked at me and was like, hold your breath just a little bit longer. It's going to be okay. Hold your breath. And there was, like, this bright light around me. And I am literally, like, I guess in the way I'm looking at it as a child is like I'm just with this this angel, like my friend is talking to me. Yeah, I'm not thinking about like choking on the water or anything like that.
You just like kind of like chilling.
I'm and literally like my gaze is focused on this angel the entire time. Wow. And finally, they said I was literally under the water for almost half an hour.
Oh my God.
So mind you, so that they end up
Jesus.
So they end up getting me out of the pool. Now, they end up getting me out of the pool. I go to the hospital. They had told my mom that I was gonna have all types of brain injuries, which is interesting to me when you ask me what makes me want to be a doctor. Now that I'm thinking about this story, I'm like, I get it now.
Wow. Revelation.
Wow. That was like, but they were like, I'm going to have learning disabilities. I'm going to have delays, that I may never like have the full function of my brain activity again. Wow. When you pray, like, so this was at the time that they were writing Soon and Very Soon We Are Going to See the King, right? They were writing this song. They were singing that song. And I remember them. My mom, like, why I remember it, I don't know, because I was 2. Like, there's certain things about 2 years old that I don't remember. With this, I remember. And they were just, like, praying all around me. When the doctor came back with a test, they were like, I don't know what just happened. Like, they literally showed my mom the test from, this was the day before. This is the day after. And it looks like a fully functioning normal brain activity, nothing. They literally released me from the hospital. Wow. But I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, I saw an angel. Like, I remember, like, I couldn't even really talk. And my mom was like, she would brush it off initially, right? Yeah. She's like, okay, honey. She's like, okay. But then what ended up happening is I ended up getting on the stage with Andre Crouch. Like, and he was just like, I want to show you my goddaughter. She literally almost drowned in my pool. And this is a testimony. And then he put the microphone and he was like, tell them what you saw. And I was like, I saw angel. I saw an angel. The crowd erupted.
Wow.
Like when I say erupted.
Oh my gosh.
And people were like, if you didn't believe the Lord that day, you know what I mean?
You believed it.
And so like I am always reminded of that encounter. And so I believe in angels. I know that angel is rocking with me 45 years. Thank you. But it was such a monumental moment in my life that solidified my belief in the Lord before I could even talk. That I know that I have protection. Wow. Again, what happened when I was about to be 21 years old, September 21st, 2000 remember, 2000 and something. I was in a fatal car accident. Like I was hit by an 18-wheeler truck head on. I was in a Mazda 626 head on. My entire car, like if you saw it, it was like a pancake. I was in ICU for 6 days.
Oh my gosh.
If you saw my car, you would have thought that I was dead, and I will never I literally walked. I had a ruptured spleen, and they were saying I was like losing blood like a lot, but they literally like had to take me out of ICU because they're like, I don't understand what's going on with you. And then that I saw the end, but I knew that the angel of the Lord once again
was there,
was working, because to see my car, to have the truck driver of an 18-wheeler truck come out of his truck and say, "You saved my life," because the way that the accident happened is, like, I was in the fast lane, which is like the number 1 lane, which is like the far one. A car cut him off. He jackknifed. He hit my car, but my car stopped him from jumping the center divider. So he would have gone onto oncoming traffic had he not hit my. So I took the entire brunt of that accident.
Oh my gosh!
And it stopped my basketball career, but other than that, like, you know, I walked away from it like unscathed.
Oh my gosh!
And so I tell anyone out there, like, if you don't believe in the Lord, like, he is real, because I'm telling you, like, those situations for me were so monumental of who God is in my life, and that there's nothing that the enemy can do to get me out of this world without the Lord telling me it's my time. It's quite amazing.
Wow. So you had a couple like really close calls. Like, oh my goodness. When you saw the angel, you said his eye. You said you were staring at his eyes.
I was staring at her eyes. Like, I don't. You don't even know. I don't know like, here, but it was. Was
there like a face? Was it like the eyes? Like,
it was like an image. So like, think about like eyes. The only thing I can equate it to, and it was so freaky, but when I think about the eyes, if you ever saw Teletubbies back in the day, right? Like, okay, so there was like the baby sun, right? Okay. And like all you would literally see is the eyes and like the image of the eyes and like the sun, right? So like it wasn't creepy like that, but it was definitely like, it wasn't like a figure. It wasn't like someone like, I'm looking at you as a man and I see your image. It was literally like I'm piercing, like my eyes were focused on this angel's eyes and the bright light that surrounded it, and it was like authoritative yet calm yet in control. So like any emotion that I was feeling or could have felt, it was stabilized at that moment for me, just to be able to be like, I'm focused on this person. I don't remember taking in water through my nose. Like all I knew was that bright light and that angel was looking dead at me. Sweet, hold your breath just a little bit, and like the voice. It was like
stern and calm, like stern but calm. Like they knew exactly.
Like, you're not giving up today. Today is not the day you're gonna die.
Wow.
Like you're gonna be okay. Just focus on me. Just hold your breath just a little bit longer. Like, it's okay. Like, hold your breath just a little bit longer.
Oh my God.
Like, just like that. Hold your breath just a little bit longer. Like, it was that.
Yeah, wow.
Like, it literally was like that. And then the dog was like going around, and then the maid was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And got me. But then I guess when I got out, I wasn't breathing initially, and then they had to revive me. But
that's crazy.
Here I am.
Gosh, I mean, you made it. Like, you made it. Oh
but
wow, God's gonna continue to use you.
I received that.
So and like you were saying earlier, like, however the podcast does, but like the fact that if anybody watches, 1 or 2 people, and hear your testimony and everything we've talked about can change their life, like that's what it's about. Like, I don't have to be the biggest. I mean, I would love to, but I'm trying to just change lives. So if it's 1, 2, 10, 1,000, 2,000, 30,000, 1 million, well, however, it doesn't matter. But I know people are already being changed by this. Unfortunately, we got to wrap up for time. But is there anything you want to leave the listeners? Like, what is one thing you want them to get from this podcast today? If you had to tell them,
I just continue to walk in your truth.
Amen.
Surround yourself with people that you can be authentically you and that are not going to allow you to stay complacent and stagnant. Be with people that are going to push you to being all that God has called you to be. Be around people that catch your vision and encourage you to be that and won't expect anything less.
Wow.
So that's my encouragement. I continue to unpack your stuff. The Lord is coming back for a church without spot or wrinkle, and I do believe that the Lord is very concerned and cares about the crap that we've gone through in our lives, and He's intentional about that, and He wants to heal that. And so allow Him to heal it. Get therapy. Therapy is very good, and make sure you find the therapist that works for you.
Yeah,
because people think that therapy is like one stop shop. It's not one size fits all. You're gonna
you got to get the right person. It's like the right relationship. It's like a relationship. You got to get the right.
And there
partner.
might be some that you be like, yeah. I had a therapist that I loved that she fell asleep on me though, and I was just like, well, she ain't the one for me. I need someone to pay attention. Like, you know what I mean? So you're not my person.
Oh my god.
So just yeah.
It's like, dang, I'm boring you that bad.
I was like, it's ridiculous. But being able to find someone that matches you and don't give up, like keep searching, but don't allow the enemy's whispers to be louder than what God is saying. So
thank you so much for coming on. We were trying to do this for like a month. I so appreciate you coming out and do this. I'm so overjoyed. I can't wait to have you on again. Like I want to go deeper. Like we want to talk more about therapy stuff next week, and I hope you come on again soon.
I would be honored to.
But for you guys, if you got some value from this, type in the comments what you guys got, what you guys think about this podcast, any testimonies that you have, like what you gained from this. I really want to hear about what you guys got from this. So press that subscribe button. Don't forget, you need that subscribe. Type some comments in there. Like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode on Unpack Your Bag Podcast. Till next time, I'm your host, Tony Perks, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace, love, and hair grease. Talk to you soon.
How you feeling? How you living? Yeah, how you feeling? How you chilling? Well, alright. From the floor to the ceiling, everyone in the building, if you're feeling alright. Well, alright.